I never thought a single sentence could make me feel invisible, worthless, and furious all at once. Until my own sister smiled across the Thanksgiving table and told me I was too ugly to deserve a date. But what she didn't know was that I had been holding a secret that would shatter her perfect life in front of everyone she loved. The dining room smelled like brown sugar, cinnamon, and 30 years of my mother had spent trying to glue this family together with butter and tradition. Turkey skin crackled under the knife, gravy boats sweated in the candlelight, and the lions were losing on the muted TV in the next room, the way they always did on Thanksgiving. 22 people crowded around the extended table. Mom, Dad, Aunt Linda, Uncle Mike, cousins I only saw when somebody died or got married, Grandma Harper in her wheelchair at the head like a tiny queen, and Victoria, my older sister, Victoria, who sat directly across from me looking like she'd been carved out of Instagram and injected with money. Victoria wore a cream cashmere sweater that probably cost more than my monthly rent, her blonde extensions cascading in perfect waves, cheekbones sharp enough to cut glass, lips so full they looked permanently bee-stung. She had the kind of face that made strangers stop on the street and ask what filter she used, except there was no filter, just money, a lot of money. And knives. A lot of knives. I had just finished telling everyone about Ryan, the lawyer I'd been seeing for 6 weeks, the one who laughed at my terrible jokes and kissed me like I was something precious, when Victoria set her wineglass down with a delicate clink that somehow made the whole table vibrate. "Ryan sounds lovely," she said, voice dripping with honeyed poison. "But sweetheart, let's be realistic. A man like that, with you?" She laughed, light and musical, the laugh she'd perfected in pageant training when we were teenagers. "You're too ugly for a date with someone who has options, Rachel. No offense, it's just facts." The room froze. Mom's fork hung halfway to her mouth. Dad stared at his plate like it had personally betrayed him. My cousin Becca actually gasped. Even Victoria's 8-year-old daughter, Everly, looked up from her iPad and whispered, "Mommy, that was mean." Victoria just smiled wider, the way a shark smiles right before it bites. I felt it, the old familiar twist in my gut, the one that had lived there since I was 11 and Victoria told me my nose made me look like a witch. Since she told the entire middle school I stuffed my bra. Since she convinced me I was unlovable before I ever had the chance to find out for myself. But tonight, the twist felt different, sharper, final. Because tonight, I was done. I reached into my tote bag and pulled out the thick manila envelope I'd carried like a loaded gun for 3 weeks. Victoria's eyes flicked to it, and something, maybe panic, flashed across her perfect face before she covered it with another laugh. "What's that, Rach? Your vision board? Gonna show us the plastic surgeon you'll never be able to afford?" "Actually," I said, standing slowly, "these are your medical records, Victoria, and your before pictures, all of them." I walked to the TV, plugged my phone into the HDMI cable Dad always left hooked up for football games, and hit play. The first photo filled the 65-inch screen. Victoria herself had bragged about buying last Christmas. Victoria at 16. 197 pounds, severe cystic acne that left craters in her cheeks. A nose so prominently hooked, our own grandmother once called it distinctive. Thin, colorless lips, weak chin, crossed eyes that thick glasses couldn't fully correct, and stringy dishwater blonde hair, and a unibrow that met in the middle like it was trying to escape her face. The room made a collective sound, like air leaving a punctured tire.
Victoria's wine glass slipped from her hand and shattered on Mom's hardwood floor. "That's not me," she whispered, but her voice cracked. The next photo was Victoria at 17, even heavier, wearing a brace for scoliosis. Teeth before veneers, crooked and yellow from tetracycline staining as a child. Next, Victoria at 19, right before she met Gregory Wentworth III at a frat party and decided her entire personality would become future trophy wife. Next, the invoice from Rodeo Drive's most exclusive plastic surgeon, $18,500 for the first rhinoplasty alone. Then the revision when the first one collapsed. Then the chin implant, cheek implants, jaw shave, blepharoplasty, fat grafting, lip lift, breast augmentation twice, once for size, once because the first set looked fake, Brazilian butt lift, rib removal rumors she always denied, laser resurfacing for the acne scars, porcelain veneers, weekly fillers, Botox every 3 months, and the secret vaginal rejuvenation she cried about in the recovery room because Greg said I felt used up after the babies. $278,431.62 in total. Paid for with Greg's trust fund, credit cards, and here's the part that made my hands shake when I found it, the $40,000 college fund Mom and Dad had saved for me that mysteriously disappeared the year Victoria turned 21. She told them I'd decided not to go to college. I never knew until I found the bank statements in her old Dropbox when she asked me to fix her laptop last month. I let the slideshow run. Victoria at 15, crying in our bathroom because a boy called her Vulture Vicky. Victoria at 18, writing in her diary, which I also had photos of, "Sorry sis, you really should password protect your cloud," said, "I will never be pretty. I will never be loved. I will die alone unless I fix this face." Victoria at 22, 3 days after her first nose job, swollen and bruised and black-eyed, texting her best friend, "Worth it. I'd rather die than go back to looking like that monster." The last slide was a side-by-side. Left, Victoria at 19. Right, Victoria now. Same person, completely different face. The silence was thick enough to choke on. Victoria's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. Her Botoxed forehead couldn't even crease in horror. It just stayed perfectly smooth while tears ruined her $200 makeup. "You bitch," she finally whispered.
"No," I said, and my voice didn't shake. Not even a little. "You're the bitch, Victoria. You've spent 20 years calling me ugly because you were terrified someone would notice you used to be me, worse than me. You bullied me into hating my face, my natural, perfectly fine face, because you couldn't stand your own. You told Josh Carter in 10th grade I had herpes, so he dumped me before prom. You told my college boyfriend I was anorexic when I lost 15 pounds senior year. You told Mom I was jealous of you when I was literally in therapy for the eating disorder you gave me with your constant comments about my pig nose and man shoulders. I lost years of my life believing I was disgusting because you needed someone to stand on to feel tall." I turned to the table. "She's called me ugly at every holiday for 15 years, every birthday, every time I got a promotion, every time I bought a new dress, every time I dared to smile too wide. And every time you all let her, because Victoria was the pretty one, the successful one, the one who made something of herself." I looked at Greg, Victoria's husband, who had gone pale under his golf tan. "She spent your inheritance, Greg, all of it. The house is in foreclosure. They've been living on credit cards for 2 years. She's been selling your Rolexes on the real to pay for filler. Did you know that?"
Greg looked at Victoria like he was seeing her for the first time. Victoria lunged for the TV remote, but Uncle Mike, 6'4", former Marine, gently took it from her hand. "Let her finish, Vicky," he said quietly. Victoria started sobbing, not pretty crying, ugly, snotty, face-cracking crying that pulled her surgical mask down in weird ways. "They're photoshopped. She's jealous. She's always been jealous." "Stop." Grandma Harper's voice cut through the hysteria like a knife. She was 91 and half blind, but her hearing was perfect. "I was there when you came home with that first nose cast, Victoria Marie. You told me you fell down the stairs at a party. You begged me not to tell your mother. I kept your secret for 16 years because I thought shame would teach you kindness. Clearly, I was wrong." Mom was crying now too. Not for Victoria, for me. "I gave you $40,000 for fertility treatments. That was Rachel's money." Victoria slid off her chair and onto the floor, cashmere sweater riding up to show the scar where her ribs used to be. "I hate you," she sobbed at me. "I've always hated you." "I know. And God help me, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. That hate kept you alive. It just about killed me." I looked around the table, at Dad, who was holding Mom's hand so tight his knuckles were white, at Aunt Linda filming on her phone, sorry not sorry, at my little cousin Mason, who whispered, "Holy shit," under his breath, at Ryan, who had come as my +1 and was watching me with something that looked a lot like awe. "I'm not doing this because I hate you back," I said to Victoria, who was curled on the floor like a broken doll. "I'm doing this because I'm 34 years old and I'm tired of shrinking so you could feel tall. I'm tired of wearing baggy sweaters because you said my arms were ham hocks. I'm tired of wearing my hair in a bun because you said my forehead was 5 head. I'm tired of believing I'm ugly because the ugliest thing in this family has ever been your soul." I picked up my coat. "Ryan and I are leaving. We have reservations at that new Italian place downtown, the one with the good wine list." I looked down at my sister, mascara running in black rivers down her perfect surgical cheeks. "Try not to choke on your filler, Vicky. I hear it's murder on the windpipe." Ryan took my hand as we walked out. His palm was warm and steady. Behind us, I heard Grandma Harper say, "Somebody get this child some tissues, and somebody else pour Rachel another glass of wine. She's earned the whole damn bottle." 6 months later. Victoria and Greg are getting divorced. She lost her Instagram sponsorships when the before photos went viral. Thanks, Aunt Linda. Last I heard, she's living in a 1-bedroom in Reseda and working retail at Sephora, where, ironically, she is very good at helping other women feel beautiful. Mom and Dad paid for me to go back to school. I'm getting my master's in art therapy now, specializing in body dysmorphia and sibling trauma. Ryan moved in last month. He says he loves my nose, calls it aristocratic, says my arms are perfect for holding him. And every time I look in the mirror now, I see what he sees, what I should have seen all along. The girl Victoria spent 20 years trying to destroy. She's still in there. And she's fucking beautiful.